I can do a quick drop for Keynote and how to, let's see, yeah, how to take apart shapes from Noun Project and then actually make them shapes that are useful in Keynote, like add them to the Keynote thing. It sounds like you've got more than you need though, so I'll have it ready, but I doubt you'll
I
end up
think
needing it.
between just the go round as we circle around the horn, that we'll find something. We
Okay,
always do. But it's nice to have backups. Hence, they call it throwing a Cochrane in case you never heard of it before. But you can always populate a question in there and
sure.
let the audience vote on it if it's something they
Well,
really
that's
want to.
right. For those who are listening to the pre-show, if you want to see it, then ask for
I
it.
don't think we have a listen
No
to the
pre-show.
pre-show. No.
Ah, okay. Well,
As it
nobody
should
wants it
be.
then. Yes, as
As
that's
it
right.
should be.
We can talk about maybe the Sony's potential failure for not having OpenGate in their new camera, which is a very silly thing to begin with. OpenGate is not a requirement for photography cameras to record OpenGate for video. But apparently the standard has been set now by Canon. And if this new Sony camera doesn't have it, Sony fail, and everyone's going to sell their Sony stuff. Which is hilarious seeing the meltdown happen. So the Canon R6 Mark III does OpenGate, and so does Blackmagic Cinema 6K cinema camera. So yeah. Space is always good.
Hello and welcome to Extra Hours. I'm Guy Cochran filling in for Grant Whitehead today. We've got an illustrious panel of 6 coming in from all over the world. We'll start with Carl from Down Under. How you doing, Carl?
Good afternoon, everyone. It's just gone Tuesday afternoon here, so in the future. It's just after lunch. Weather is nice today. It's a little bit overcast, but it's probably about low 20s, so which would be around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and no wind, which is nice as well.
Wow, thank you for the weather update from Down Under. It's always pretty wild that up here, Sky and I have such different weather than you guys do on the other side of the world. Sky, you want to give the weather report for Mountain Lake?
Well,
Terrace?
it's wet outside and with a great chance of wetness and more wet because it is that time of year. It is wetness. It's not
That's
Beaumont,
6
Texas.
months of wet.
It
Yeah.
is 6. Oh, if we're lucky.
Yeah.
No, it's lovely up here. But it does keep us green. So I do appreciate that. I lived in Southern California where it's not green.
Nice. And speaking of Southern California, we've got our returning guest, Mr. Noah Sargent. How you doing, Noah?
Hey, everybody, doing well. Thanks for having me. It's actually a rare occasion in Southern California because we do have rain as well. So it is wet outside, has been the last couple of days. And yeah, I don't know, Sky, maybe you brought it down here somehow.
And you're
In a
coming
big
fresh
way.
off
I hear it. Just hang on.
Nice. And you're coming fresh off some pretty big gigs, which I hope we can dive into. So hopefully you were able to spool up some nice little behind the scenes. And I did notice you on Brandon's show. So actually, that was my pick last week for my content pick. So we got a little taste of it, but we'd love to hear more about that one. So we'll circle back around to you. So down south also, we've got Jason Beige. How you doing, Jason?
Pretty great. The weather in Albuquerque is perfectly flat lighting. As you can see, there are no shadows anywhere in the frame. So there you have it.
What? What's reality though? What's
You
really
know
like
what? Reality is overrated.
Okay, we'll take your word for it. Jeff Keithley, what do you got down there in Texas?
It's hot.
It's hot? No way.
Yes. I was
What?
sweating today. I was working in the
What?
shop this morning and I was literally sweating. And I looked outside and it's like 84 degrees. And I looked outside and I was like, this is the wrong month. This feels like not October. I mean, more like September, like early September is what it felt like today. It's weird, very weird.
Wow. So are we lined up to do tennis again in January, or what's the scoop?
Yeah,
You got
I'm
that?
sorry that it's going to be one of those things. I'm gonna have to pack up everything in the middle of winter and go down to sunny Florida and work. It's a
Oh,
terrible
it's so
life, but
rough.
somebody's got to do it. So
Those gigs are great though. But how was some of the racing season?
oh,
Did
it's
you? I saw some wetness on a couple of them, but
oh,
the
just
majority of them
every single
sunshine.
race, every
What?
single race. There was at least one day of every race that was just torrential downpours or just so bad that we had to like they had to shut some of the cars and push some of the races out and some of them can run like the ones that are TA that are Trans Am, those they'll ride on wets, and so they'll actually ride on tires that aren't slicks. But on the SVRA, which is like the vintage ones and things like that, these guys have like really expensive cars that they're running out there, Porsches, Bugattis, you name it. They're all out there, and they don't want to wreck those. So when it sprinkles a little bit, they're like, nope, I ain't going. Nope, nope.
Yeah, just for the enjoyment, just because it's so geeky. How many of those have those in-car live views?
Trans Am, we have 12 in Trans Am.
12
And
live views.
so
So into your
almost
TriCaster, you
every
got
car that would be racing at the
has
most
it.
I think we had in any given was about 20. So
And the
yeah.
owners buy those. They own those, right?
No, they
No?
it's a subscription part type thing, partnership, sponsored
Okay.
partnership type thing. Now the ones in IGT, they buy their own. IGT is International GT. They actually have what's called a Sentinel system is the most common now, and it's sending up an SRT. And the SRT we pull it off of a reflector that's a server in the cloud. So it's a little actually I like it because it's a little easier to deal with. The live views are easy to deal with too, but they're always something breaking. Like cable comes in plugged. It's going 180 miles an
They're
hour.
just the
So go
solos, though,
figure.
right? These aren't the big bad
Oh,
boys. These are.
300s. They're using
Oh, they're
300s. So
300s.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
they're so I can administer them, and that's part of my job as V1 is to administer them all. So they have a guy that just puts them in the cars and make sure they're working. But invariably, we start off with say 6 live on the beginning of a race. There's at least 2 that go out at any given time. It's just stuff. Yeah, it just happens.
So you stop
Man,
the
that's
race.
such an
And, just kidding.
No, they don't stop.
They don't
keep
stop.
going. And there has been a couple times that we've had some really interesting coverage. Like one time the guy got out of the car in a hurry because it was on fire. And we saw it just like flames and everything burning through the window. Yeah, just see, look, there's the car and it's on fire. Yeah, so that was kind of interesting.
Send up the drone.
Races, crashes on the races and stuff too. We see it all, and it's all we're rolling every feed that we could possibly, and are actually put in a bigger system now. And you'll love this too, guys. It's for training purposes. I've got 14 feeds off of a recent race, so we
Nice.
ISO'd 14 cameras so that we could do some training with them.
Ooh, that might be a
Yeah.
fun one to spool up and just have an evergreen place to cut a show.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, get your chops
Sweet.
without having to be right in the middle of it all the time.
Yeah, we'll have to circle back offline because so for a while, just so you guys know what we're talking about, I bought the domain, cut the show, and I've been wanting to put these ISOs up so that you can, in addition to the talking heads that we have running on the Mimo Live Zoom station, so anybody right now can log into this Zoom meeting. I'll put a link in the chat where you got 8 talking heads, but we want to evolve it into a sports event, maybe a house of worship, just whatever's kind of a popular thing for a student to cut, because maybe mostly this would be for like high school students or something like that, just to get a taste of vMix or Wirecast or an ATEM, whatever we can to give them 24-hour feeds. So that's the idea.
I think pickleball is going to really take over. I think pickleball's the future.
Pickleball is the next big thing.
I hope
We'll
not.
get some footage. Get
I
some
really
footage for
hope
us.
not. It's terrible. But that's the idea. No, so let's do it. I mean, I'm open for it if we can find the right ones to do it, for sure.
And how many UE 150s do you have, Jeff, if we wanted to do pickleball?
I have 4 UE 150s and then another 8 of the robotics. So we can do a lot. Is it really? I mean, pickleball is like a 4 camera shoot, 5 maybe. Yeah, it's
That's
super
right.
simple. Such a
And then
small place too.
No, on the PTZs, you're using FR7s?
Yeah, for those as well. We actually did a gig with Jeff over the summer, and he graciously got a supply for us for some columns. I don't know, Jeff, if you want to kind of talk through what you have and how that was built out.
Well, I don't have them anymore. You got them.
Well, you
No.
have some, don't you? We split them, right? You have a couple. I have a couple.
I have two of the larger ones that I first have, and I put two of these in Sage, actually, at the Sage Studios with Blues Place, and so um those are really big and they're really heavy. So my version 2 was the ones that I sold to Noah, because I bought them to do poker with, and we didn't get a long-term contract out of that job, so they were just sitting, and Noah kept asking me about them, and so I was like, well, I'll sell them to you, man. It's fine. We'll hook it up. So I've got your box and pieces over here. I've actually started on that today, making some fine adjustments on it, but it's a controller based system that allows us to either use central control to control relays that are inside the box, or manual, and the columns can go up to the ones that you have. Noah, what was it, 5 foot?
50.
I think it is.
Yeah,
like
5'5"
right at
or
5
something.
foot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
So it's a triple stage elevator, and then we made some bases for them, some nice big heavy bases, and then the client comes back to me with all kinds of requests about, oh, I want to fix this, I want to do this, I want to do that. So we're working in that process right now. Yeah.
So how do you guys decide what to buy, what to keep? Is it mostly just lined up by gigs where you have multiple recurring of the same type of show, and that's how you decide what to buy? Or can you kind of walk us through
For the
your
buy
CapEx?
side, it really comes down to, for me, I look at buying, it's like, if I'm going to rent it more than 5 times, I probably really should be looking at buying it, unless it's such a high ticket offer, or high ticket option, like a box lens, for instance. An 83 or an 80x box lens is going to cost $160,000 new. I'm not going to buy. I don't have enough business to use that over the course of a year that I would want to buy that out. So those are rental items. There's a lot of production companies, that's what they do, is they rent them. There's a lot of trucks though that have those on them, and they may have 107s and 110s even. It's just a whole bunch of boxes on there. But for me, I look at that 4 or 5 times, or if it's lucrative enough job that one time can pay for it. So, and that's happened a few times. I mean, I bought a really big NAS one time for that reason, because
That's the holy grail.
that one time paid for it easily.
Nice.
Yeah,
And then has there been anything where you made a mistake where you're like, oh, I should have never bought that, it's now sitting idle? Or
So many
so
times.
many.
so many times.
Same, absolutely. Yeah,
So you win some, you lose
Same
some.
here.
I'm sure we all have a list of like, oh, that's going to be so great, and then we get it and we use it once, and then like a year goes by, and you're like, oh, I guess I didn't use that more than once.
Mhm.
I hear Sky has an Avid that might be collecting a little bit of moisture right now. How much was that, Sky? How
That
much
was
yours?
that was an 80 gram, but it originally started at 150, and yeah, but that was many years ago. It never did pay for itself. But I got a whole bunch of hard
No.
drives I'll sell you.
How big?
I-
9
would-
gigabyte?
Yeah, are they IDE
gigs.
drives? So that's it's always good.
No, they're probably SCSI, right?
Yeah,
They-
probably SCSI.
Oh, they're scuzzy.
No.
Oh, they're so loud, so loud, and the best 360 gigs you could get at the time.
540
Those
RPM.
Whee! The fans alone would heat up
Man,
the
kids these
office.
days just don't realize how easy and how cheap. I mean, you get
Yeah,
into
and
this
I've got
gig
more.
for-
I've got more. Space on this little thumb drive now. It's like, what? Yeah,
And then
My
with the whole
those were the
advent of
days, my friend.
the whole advent of the cloud. I mean, it's amazing how many of these things we can just spin up and then shut them down, and not have to go sell it on the used market just because we only needed it for 1 gig. I mean, anybody else using the cloud besides Jeff, or it's pretty much all Jeff?
I've used it once
No.
or twice.
Once or twice? No, are you getting into it?
You know what's funny is like I'm fairly young. I'm 35, but I'm still a little bit of a Luddite when it comes to cloud production. Jeff's pulling me into it as much as he can, but I haven't really fully committed to a show. For
The term is
cloud-based
prude,
infrastructure.
I believe.
Sure, prude. That's a good one.
uncomfortable is what happens with when you can't see it, you can't touch it, and
Cloud
it's
curious.
tough to get past that. So, and once you get deep and you see the advantages it can bring to you, it's you don't even think twice about it. And there's a lot of times where I forget. I do forget, and I'm like, why in the world are we here on site doing this way? Because well, that's the way we've always done it. And I was like, okay, well,
Well,
let's think
but the
about the
redundancy
advantages.
and guys had a show go sideways, and you had redundancy, and that's what I would imagine Noah's wanting is, when it goes down, not if.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. The cloud redundancy is huge, and I've done a project with Jonas a couple years ago that the cloud infrastructure was the perfect tool for sure. And so I'm not necessarily opposed to it. My kind of Achilles heel with cloud is iMac. Basically, we still do that for 50%, 60% of our productions. We have some sort of display portion of it. So kind of like
Plus,
NDI.
there is an
Sorry.
element that you do need a person on the ground too who knows everything you know. So you need a twin on
Very
the
true.
ground if you're going to cloud.
I don't know, Carl. I don't know if they need to know everything we know, but they definitely are a
They
specific
need to know all the
skill
on-site
set.
stuff that you do.
Yes,
So,
they need to know everything on site. Yes,
on-site.
for
So
sure.
that's what I mean. They don't need to know all your back-end stuff that you may be doing, but they need to know everything you would know if you're on site. So, it's good if you can find that person or people. And Office Hours community is really good for that too. But that is an Achilles heel if you have someone on site who just doesn't understand all the systems, and that one system goes down, and then you're trying to coach them over FaceTime to fix that system.
And there's things that Jeff knows that I know I don't want to know. I'm just sure of it. I'm just sure of it.
Yeah, I have no interest in logging into an Amazon. So, as a photographer, that's not something I want to configure.
There's
Come on,
reasons for it, though.
multicast, IGMP snooping. Doesn't that sound great to you? You want to throw away all the memories from kindergarten to fill up your brain with all this NDI certification, Dante?
You
some
think
space knowledge that
he's
pop out the other
kidding,
side.
folks. He's not.
So
There's a
space
reason
knowledge
why
would pop
his
out the other
head's
side.
bigger than like look at him in the 6 up here, man. His head's huge. It's a lot of memory in there. I think he's got more gigabytes than anybody. He got like terabytes in there. Well, him and Carl, it's like a contest there. Big brains for rent.
That's why we don't have hair.
That's right.
All that
brains
extra
pushed that out.
storage.
You
It
can
burned
say
off.
that. It stretched it right out. And all the follicles.
Pushed it out. Pushed it out.
Nice.
You
As a
asked a
photographer-
question though. Interesting enough, you did ask a question, guy, and I didn't answer that as I was weeding around. The time to sell something, that decision is pretty much when I wake up in the morning or I'm awake. Yeah, I'll sell it. I don't care. I'll sell anything. I will not sell my mom. I will not sell my wife. But my dad, he's on eBay. I can show you the he's
Got a
useless.
listing.
He got nothing to do. So he's
Wow.
retired and everything. So he's a really good deal. Really good deal. But yeah,
Nice.
you if you don't turn over the stuff, you end up just amassing a bunch of stuff, and that's been my goal. I lost my father-in-law earlier this summer, and we've been going through the purging of the house. As a matter of fact, I was just doing that this past weekend, and it is just an ongoing basis. And until you see how much stuff, especially us Americans, collect, then multiply that times 100 when it comes to a business. It's at least 100.
It's where I am right now, and I hate it. Like
So
I
much
don't even
stuff.
want to look at it.
But you are in the business of being in the business, Jeff. There are
Yeah.
many of us that are at the end client, and you are both. So you're kind of a ambidextrous.
Well,
In the-
yes and no, but I mean, it's still at the same time. I got so much junk. When you're talking about your SCSI hard drives, I've got hundreds of them on a shelf that are like from old editing days that we used to do editing at our company. So my
I need
company's
a SCSI
done
Terminator. Do
all
you have
kinds
one of those
things.
SCSI Terminators? Those little
What pin
blocks?
output do you want? You want 68 pin or 50? What do you want? I will have it. I guarantee it.
Wow.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like it's
I
just
got a
so hard
Bernoulli
to
drive.
get rid of it. Yeah.
It brings up
What
a
a
good
side
question.
quest.
Yeah, a good question here about like how do you inventory manage? Like, what does your backend structure look like? What rules? Like, I set up a couple rules because I moved in February of this year. Of like, all right, have I used it in a year? Do I intend to use it in the next year? Is it worth less than $100? those are like my three kind of golden
That's
rules
great.
of like, should I keep it or
That's
get
a
rid of
good
it, you
rule.
know?
Actually, all three of those makes total sense to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure if anybody else has something similar or what kind of framework you use, you know?
If
So, for
somebody
me-
says I want it, I'll sell it. I don't care.
For me as a photographer, I need to be careful of not buying stuff, as you say, like that I'll use once. I kind of give myself a particular space. So if it doesn't fit into that space, I don't keep it. So I'm very conscious of what I buy and it's got to fit into. So I know that if I get like a humongous storage area, it would just be like a gas. The gas will fill the space that it's put into. And that's what will happen if I get a larger space. I'll just fill it with gear that I'm going to use. I will use, but I'll use like once or twice a year. So I'm quite careful as a photographer.
Do you
not
still
to
keep
buy
lenses
time.
longer than bodies?
I have lenses from the 20th century I still use. So
Wow.
Wow.
I
All
always
right,
heard
shift-
that glass was the thing you always kept because the
yeah, that's the glass
what
is
was
the
the,
stuff.
what
you
was the
get.
joke? You married the glass and you dated the body.
You-
Is that what?
You date the camera, yeah. You
Date
marry
the
the glass, date
camera,
So the reason for that is because the lens creates the image, the camera captures the image. So essentially, the camera is really, or you can always chuck a new way to capture. And back in the film days, it was the film that captured the image. And the film you went off to get processed. Simply the camera held the film, it advanced the film, and it enabled you to control the lens without touching the lens for more modern cameras. But yeah, so the image is actually created by the lens, and this is why like medium format and large format cameras, they're just really rails and a frame, the film holder. But the most important part, the most expensive part of that is really going to be the lens at the front that creates the image for medium format and large format cameras. Whereas with video, people assume the camera is what actually does it because for a long time video cameras had built-in lenses, so they didn't really. And then we came along with the Canon 5D Mark II, which enabled interchangeable lenses with large format. And that spurred the whole thing. And then people in video kind of get confused about, is it the camera? Is it the lens? It's always a lens.
Yeah, but then Canon gave us the miserable Kodak. And it's like, why you have a wonderful lens, amazing camera, and MP, what was a horrible Kodak? Sorry, I have an opinion.
It's good to have. an
You're right, back
opinion.
in the 5D Mark II days.
And that's
it
where
was-
Magic Lantern came in and changed everything again.
Yeah, that's true. But they followed up. People don't remember that a year later, they came out with the 1D Mark IV, 1D Mark IV.
That
and
no one
then-
bought because
It
Magic
was too
Lantern was
late
free.
because yeah, exactly, it was too late. The
Well,
horse was
1D
gone.
Mark IV could do a lot more than what that. And then, of course,
Sure.
in 2011, they launched the Canon Cinema line. So as soon as the 5D Mark II went off and they went, okay, we can go into the cinema line, they did. And the cinema line has taken off, and it's a pretty big. A lot of money comes into Canon via their lenses and their cameras now from that. So, but you are right, and they've gone RAW. So Canon hasn't. They were the first to do internal RAW 4K. Sony has yet to do that, I believe. Technically, I think the Venice can do it if you buy a module and an attachment, that kind of stuff. Arri can do it technically. Red can do it. Well, Red doesn't really exist anymore though. But
Well,
yeah,
it's
so
Nikon now.
oh yeah, Nikon bought it, so we'll see if there's any new cameras that come out. They'll upgrade the current cameras, I think, and they'll put Nikon mounts on the current cameras. But let's see if they bring out any new architecture. So they may, depends. But Canon is the one who's pushing the industry forward very hard. Sony does a lot as far as marketing, to be honest. So Sony does do a lot, especially in the creator space, of pushing gear, and it makes raises all boats in a way, because Sony does most heavy marketing. Especially
Good.
with
Now, if they could
creators.
just switch out this lens that I married several years ago that I still adore, but could only use
Is
it
that-
on my 6K, my
Is that the Mark
Blackmagic
II?
6K. Yeah, this is the Mark II, the
Yeah.
70 to 200 2.8
It's a great
IS3.
lens.
It's a
a great
great
lens.
lens.
So
It's a classic.
It's a great
Best
lens
lens ever.
Yeah.
I just sold mine. I had that same lens. Just got rid of that one. It's one of those things where you go, okay, do I want to shift camps to the RF line? What's coming down?
I
It's,
want to. I
Well,
should.
so RF you
know.
can, because an EF lens on an RF body works better than an EF lens on an EF body. So people kind of don't realize
That's true, but again, it's still a pain and it still hunts for focus. I've used Canon's adapter ring. I am,
that. It hunts for focus because it's not a video lens. So this is
Sure.
the biggest thing. Don't
There it
don't
is.
expect video quality. Well, this is kind of a weird thing, but don't expect video quality from photography first equipment. So if you're
Of
using a
course.
photography first body and a photography first lens, then don't expect video quality. Now, all the companies now are making so. Canon does have their video first centric lenses. They have primes and they have two zooms. They have powered zooms, and the primes have the ability to do unclicked iris, so you can use iris, unclicked, and this is really important for certain things. So Canon is doing it, but there's like probably 10 lenses in their range, or maybe less than 10.
10 lenses total.
In their range that are video first, but they will work photo. And then they have probably 50 lenses that are photo first. But pretty much if you're buying a lens with a red ring on it, it's going to be pretty good regardless. So red ring lenses, yes, more expensive, but less expensive than cinema lenses. But cinema lenses are unique in a way simply because they have to, well, they used to not allow, so cameras like ARRI and stuff like that, they didn't allow in-body correction. So it had to be perfect on the sensor. You couldn't change for chromatic aberration. You couldn't change for vignetting. All those things could be done in post, but the camera didn't know about this.
You're after the Diva cam.
Yeah. So essentially on film, you had to get it right in the lens. So the second the image that hit the film had to be perfect. We don't need to do that anymore because we overscan so much. So if you have an 8K sensor, you're not going to deliver an 8K, but 8K means now you can get rid of vignetting, you can get rid of distortion, you can get rid of spherical aberration, because you can actually use that extra resolution to fix all that and still pop out with something that's much, much higher than 4K. It'd be closer to 7K really once you do your processing. And so Canon knows this now. And so Canon is now making lenses. There's always a compromise, and this is why cinema lenses are so expensive, because they can't have a compromise. They have to be perfect as far as distortion, perfect as far as vignetting, if that's the case, and chromatic aberration. Those three are the big things. So the one thing you can't fix, really, it's very hard to fix, is going to be, so you can fix vignetting digitally, you can fix chromatic aberration digitally, and you can fix distortion really easily digitally. So those three things are the most important. So the one you can't fix is sharpness throughout the aperture range. So if you focus, because you can kind of tell software to do this, there is software that does, if you say, put more emphasis on being sharp at all aperture ranges, and don't worry about vignetting, vignetting would be the key there. Don't worry about chromatic aberration, which would be another key, and don't worry about distortion, especially for zoom lenses. If you let the camera fix those later, and this is why Canon is able to make like a 45 1.2 for $400. So
yep.
That's why they can do it. It's because they say focus on sharpness, especially one stop down. If you're shooting at 1.2, you're generally not going to be doing landscapes. So it gives a much more critical for center. So essentially the central 50% of the image will be sharp. The rest will fall off. Simply that's just the nature of a 1.2 where the light's coming from. But so Canon has gone and done that. Well, I think it's $450 US, I think, around that price for a 1.2 lens, which has never happened before. So even back in the day when Nikon had a 50 1.2 manual focus lens, that was always around $800 US. So that was like the cheapest, and that was back in the 80s. So we're talking like 40 years ago, the last time this kind of happened, where we had a sub $1,000 1.2 lens for a full frame camera. So we're in an exciting time because the cameras are getting so powerful, and we have more megapixels than we need for both photography and video now. So 7K open gate for Canon, for instance, and we'll see what happens with Sony. Sony at the moment has sat on 4K for a long time because it's easy to process, easy to focus as well. So focusing happens much faster if you're only doing 8 megapixels versus 30 megapixels in the case of 8K, of course, or over 30. So it is interesting to see that, but the lenses at the moment are getting really interesting because the combination between the lenses and the body, where the body can correct all the deficiencies in the lenses, and then you get to like the real high-end lenses, like cinema lenses, and cinema lenses can now work across many different places. Now these are going to cost $5,000 for primes and $10,000 starting price for zooms. For cinema
Speaking
lenses,
of those, Noah, what are you using on your FR7s? Are you using just those kit lenses, or are you using some of those still lenses that Carl's referring to for your long shots?
So it's funny, you brought up the 70-200. I actually have the Sony version of that, and
The GM.
Exactly, it's $3,000 lens, and I just started using that with a doubler for that extended range, right? So our
with
Hero,
the Croziel, do you have the motor as well?
I rented it because I saw the reviews and there were mixed reviews. So I didn't want to commit $2,000, but I rented it for my last project and it worked so well that I think I will buy it eventually. But yeah, I own 4 FR7s. And so there's 3 lenses I typically use on that. It's the stock 28 to 135 mil, which I've had since my FS5 days. The 16 to 35 for F4 lens for my widest.
That's really
stuff.
wide.
Yeah, my widest stuff on that. And then the tight stuff, the 70-200 with the doubler, which it gives me that focal range of up to 400 mil. The Achilles heel on the FR7 is the throw, right? So like you can't really get super close because it's full frame. Like, you know, traditional broadcast lens cameras, excuse me, have a much smaller sensor, so it's easier to get a better throw ratio, like a 20-1 or a 31-1, whereas like the stock lens is a 6-1, right? And so that's kind of one of the things you're working with the FR7. I know with a couple projects, the distance became an issue of like, we have to be 30 feet away from our subjects, right? And so we were at the end of our focal range and only could get, say, like a cowboy or a medium shot instead of a true close-up like we wanted. So that's kind of where we started to strategize of how we put cameras on set. And so now we tend to put cameras instead of the back of the house or the sides of the house for your cross coverage. We would do that just downstage, like off stage. And I think I have an image queued up. Let me see here. I do. So this was for the X Takeover event. So our FR7s are on the columns that we were talking about earlier. And so this is just right off stage, right? We have the people, I forgot the name of those, the aluminum bars that help protect, you know, from crowds and stuff like that. So
The barricades.
thank you. Barricades. Yeah. And so
Bike rack.
yeah, bike racks, all those things. But yeah, so we tend to basically put cameras just off stage in those positions. As you can tell, they're up on Pelican, or cases, I should say, not just Pelicans, that were for the LED wall. And then long term, we're also going to look at longer columns that will allow us to do it without the cases. So yeah.
And what was interesting, and I didn't think it would work, but it did work. But we put the center camera, the establishing shot that would normally would have like at back of house or front of house, you know, way back from the stage. It was the one right in front of the stage.
I was
And
nervous too.
I couldn't believe that actually worked, but it did. It great. I'd never had anybody get in front of it. It was amazing.
And nobody
Which is always
complained.
a plus.
Yeah, because we
No,
were worried about, you know,
small.
yeah, because the column is what, 3 inches wide. It's a little deeper on the other direction, but we put it so it's, you know, as
Yes,
narrow as
3
possible.
inches by 6 inches.
And then the camera itself is maybe, you know, 9 or 11 inches by 9 or 11 inches, and it's a little taller. It might be 14 inches tall. But when you think of like thousands of people, because we had about 1,500 people in person for that event, there's only a few seats it blocks anyways. And they're looking at, if we have iMac, they would be looking at the big screen or what have you. In this case, that the screen was behind them, so they were looking at Elon when he called in for that. But most of the time, you know, they made do, and it worked out well. So yeah.
My favorite original version of that is Guy Cochran at a band, and the talent reaching down and grabbing the camera out of this camera operator. So that is that going to happen, Noah?
He almost met a fist, so
my
he
God.
wasn't successful.
I hope that
he's
doesn't
not
happen
taking
for
my
us.
camera.
Yeah.
It's just one of those rock and roll shows. I wound up on the cover, or not the cover, but one of the homepages of Rolling Stone magazine, with me about ready to punch the lead singer Mars Volta in the face because he thought he could take my camera and throw it into the crowd like he did the drum riser and a light, and he was just being crazy on stage. And
Yeah, wreck your stuff, lead singer. Like, no.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, on that note, Noah, was there anything else on the last show that you did that's of interest to this audience?
Sure. Yeah, I can kind of talk about the Brandon Peltz tour, and so I'll kind of pull that up, just making sure. Yeah, so Brandon has a great channel called Live Production Mastery. Great behind the scenes content on his stuff, and so I was kind of featured in his video and his tour. So he talks about his kit and his build out. So you should definitely go watch that, and then you can see my team in the background and our carts in that setup there. So I'll kind of scrub through, and we'll get to the part where he's talking about our carts and our setup here. And yeah, so I'm going to bring the volume down and talk over this. So there we go. So we have these mobile production carts. These are built and designed by my team. And so it's designed to basically allow us to roll in and be set up in less time. And so, yeah, we have multiple workstations, like the PTZ op would be this first station there. He's talking about the PTZ cameras on the same columns we just saw a moment ago. And yeah, so that's our team. It's Emmy on the right, who's running 4 cameras and operating there. And on the left, just monitoring and making sure everything's good. And so she has both the joystick and Stream Deck controls. And so we have a preset that allows us to get control of each camera individually. So the first 6 buttons, or sorry, 3 rows, I should say, 18 buttons, right? No, whatever that be, 12 buttons are for presets. And
what do all those do?
yeah, sorry, 4 cameras, so 4 stream decks, and then presets on the right or on the left, excuse me, and then moving on the right of the
How
thing.
fast can you assign a preset? So if a director's in your ear and says, "Hey, make that a preset," how quick? How many steps is that? Is that 3 steps? Like on Panasonic, it's like set. Hit the button,
that's what's nice about having both the controller and the stream decks is I have a build out now on my, it's a profile, right? So we get better and better every show. And so the nice thing is you can hold down the preset number. So if it's number 6, right, you hold down 6, and after you hold it for 1 second, it saves it over preset 6. And so
that's sweet.
Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, it allows you to save it really quick.
That's VSCO over IP, or how is that?
Yes. Yeah, that's how I have my FR7s. I have the same profile that allows me to do the 500 or the 150s from Panasonic, so I could use either camera. Because sometimes we've done shows, you know, when I have an operator or I operate myself for another company that already has cameras, and they're like, "Hey, we use Panasonics." I'm like, "No problem." So I just basically built the preset to do both types of cameras.
Oh, you're gonna have to share that companion profile
Sure.
on the Office Hours Discord. So
Yeah.
you hear that, folks? And for those that are looking to ask any questions, we do have a little bit of room for questions. Just spool them up while Noah's going through a little bit more of this, because this is cool to hear. This is the kind of stuff that I love about these shows, is when I hear something like that, I'm like, got a nugget. Got a nugget. Thanks for the
Absolutely.
nugget.
Yeah, and what I also ended up doing, so we have the joystick control, which allows you to have fine-tuned control over a single camera, right? Obviously, you can choose which camera you want to move at the time, but we allow the stream decks to allow you to move 2 cameras at once, right? So you can basically use your left hand to do a slow pan and your right hand to do fine-tuning. So it kind of takes a little bit of time for you to get used to that setup where you are splitting your focus and tasks. But you know, your operator, Emmy in this case, she got really great at doing 2 things at once, and it gave her the freedom to, you know, control more than one thing. She could recall a preset with her left hand while still, you know, steering the hero camera or the close-up camera of the presenter on stage. And then we also set up a shift button, so you hold down shift and you hit right, and so instead of panning right, it'll continuously pan right. And so I would call it like the Hail Mary effect, or the shotgun approach, where you just send a camera. And so you could basically send all 4 cameras and they would continue their motion. And then the operator can basically just choose some cool moving shots without having to manually adjust all 4 shots at the same time, which is kind of cool. So, all right.
I see Jeff kind of.
I have a quick question.
Nodding. Yeah, go for it, Jeff.
Why aren't you using tracking?
Oh.
You're the perfect animal for tracking.
Yes, we can talk about tracking. So this was the first show that we had tracking available to us. So I didn't update for the X Takeover event. I felt like it wasn't enough time for me to practice ahead of time, and we always want to thoroughly test our stuff before we bring it on set. But the 3rd version of the OS software for the FR7s does introduce tracking. So we did have several hours of experience with it. And so my honest feedback is it's okay. It's not great. It's a little bit too quirky or jittery or moving too much still. So it follows pretty well, like the movement and what's going on, but it's almost like it overcorrects.
It drunk follows.
Yes, that's a great way of explaining it. Absolutely. It drunk follows. It's a little bit slow. And like if you're moving sporadically, it works great, because like it moves itself sporadically. But like if it's a kind of a smooth movement, or the speaker has, you know, finesse, it doesn't really finesse with the speaker, if that makes sense. So yeah.
So
Okay.
with the tracking, Noah, is the tracking
Please.
done via an application feeding back to the FR7, or is it done internally in the FR7 itself?
Yeah, so my understanding is it uses you know, the processing on the camera to do it, and then your web GUI ultimately allows you to select what your subject is.
So controlling from a web GUI, but the actual decision making is happening in the camera.
Yeah, it's a
happening-
computer vision module that's actually installed in the firmware of the camera itself.
The camera, so it's using the camera's own system on a chip.
That's
Cool.
correct.
So it's very similar to how Canon's doing theirs. That's cool.
Yes, it
That's
is.
my understanding. If Jeff, you know that for sure, that was my understanding.
It's 100%.
100%. Great.
100%.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no AI. It's just computer vision. So it's trained actions. And there is only one robotic camera that is using AI, an actual AI system, and it's using a it's a visual learning model that is driving the errors. So advanced image
Yep.
robotics, they use them, and they're the
And so
only
that's
ones
getting
on
an
the
image
market.
from the camera, and that's actually doing AI and then sending back the control
It's-
via Visca or
yes.
whatever
Yes.
to tell the camera go left, go right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
One of the things we're going to do, Brandon and I, because he's a friend of mine, I'm going to take an FR7 down to his workshop, and he's got a DIY version where he's written his own code for a
Oh,
Blackmagic and a gimbal, right? So we're going to put them head to head, and we're going to dramatize it a little bit and be like, Noah's the Sony guy and Brandon's the DIY Blackmagic guy, and we're going to kind of do a face off between the two and see how they do.
Well, Noah, you bring your cat and he'll bring his dog.
Yeah.
I want in on this. Come on,
Come on out. Come to San
leaving me
Diego.
out.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, yeah, I'll send you some of the Mark Roberts heads, and
Now we're talking.
And I'll just use them from here. I don't need to travel. I'm just saying.
Well, you got my address. You can always send me gear. It's all good.
Yeah, I've got your address, and every one of my shipments from Amazon, I have to make sure I'm not sending another one to Noah by accident.
Sounds like a perfect after hours event too. So you can
So-
get some peanut gallery comments from all of us joining in
fun.
too.
So
Be
for the
awesome.
photographers out there who want to use PTZ, but we're in a photography world, FR7 in theory you could do it. I guess it'd be it's a 4K, isn't it? It's 4K or 12K.
Yeah,
Sorry,
4K.
12 megapixel sensor,
Mhm.
4K video. Canon did make it was made for the Tokyo Olympics when Tokyo Olympics was still going to be 2020 before, but a lot of infrastructure was made by the Japanese companies, Sony and Canon especially, for the Olympics, and one of them was PTZ for still cameras. It can be used for video. You can just turn on video, of course, but you can see by the size of this thing. Now, this showing here with a 70 to 200, but this will take up to a 500 mm lens. So you can go up to, and you can put a 2x extender. This you can see by the size of this thing. It'll take a 600 if you really want to. But
That costs
I
twice
believe-
as much as the camera and the lens, definitely.
so yeah, that will cost as much as the rear end of a Ferrari, pretty much. But essentially, these are rented. So you'd go, at the Olympics, they would rent these, and they had these all throughout Tokyo and all throughout Paris Olympics. So these are remote cameras, so you could get really crazy shots where they weren't allowed to have photographers in the stadiums, for instance. But it's controlled by, it can be controlled by your own stuff. You have your own APIs, but they do have essentially a portal, and essentially you go to presets. So, or you can track. So because the camera can feed back and it can track, so runners going around a track, it will track the runners. You can tell it which runner to track. But yeah, so this is a very high end system for photography. First, it's a photography first product, but I don't think it's very useful for video. It is smooth enough for video. But it's not as like the FR7 or what Canon have invested into
Speak of
their.
that, Noah, are you finding that investment was worthwhile? Like, are you getting inquiries because you own those guys? Are you like one of the few people in LA, or is there like a bunch of people that have these in rental houses and all that? Because there's nobody up in Seattle that has those, and I'm like, I'm talking
Yeah.
to some of the local companies. Like, who would you even go to?
Honestly, they're pretty rare, especially because I own 4. Like somebody might have 1 or 2, but like to have 4 is a pretty good number. What's interesting is we're still finding a little bit of entropy there because the Panasonic UE 150 or whatever that model number is the still go-to for a lot of people, and they're like, why would I want to go to full frame, or like why do I want, there is a huge difference. I've used both for the last 5 years, and the Sony blows it out of the water. Like there's nothing like a full frame PTZ. I did hear a rumor from a friend of mine that there might be something full frame on the horizon for Panasonic's for PTZ. We'll see. But yeah, to your root of the question, like, was it worth the spend? Because yes, it was a huge investment. It was one of the biggest moves financially for us, and it didn't fit my original rule. So kind of, I'm backtracking. I'll come back to this, but like when I purchase an item, I try to say, all right, can it pay for itself within a year? So that did not meet that requirement for me. However, I think year 2 it did. So it took a little time. It took more than my standard amount, but yeah, I think over time it did pay for itself. And then now, whether we like this or not, I'm using it to reduce my staff. So instead of hiring 4 traditional camera operators, I'll hire 1 PTZ to do up to 4 cameras. And I will still hire an operator for the hero camera, especially if it's a high stakes event. So we'll still have the hero camera be a traditional.
Is that a
person.
FX6, FX9, or what do you got?
Yeah, FX6.
So-
and you
something
can,
on sticks, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you can go back to my YouTube channel, Corporate Streams, and find we did the BET event, and so we rented a $300,000 lens, which is the 25 to 1000. It's a broadcast
Duvo.
lens. Mhm.
Fiji,
Duvo.
Yeah, I think it's the Fujinon, 1.5
PL
it had
mount, yeah.
extender, and used it with a converter for the FX6 for E mount, and that worked phenomenal. My operator was complaining a little bit because of the depth of field, because you're full frame, and he's like, yeah, this is tough, but he made it happen. So shout out to Magnus. But so I'll say one more thing about our PTZ setup real quick as I'm going through here. But so our operator will typically cover 4 cameras, and so they have a separate multi-view for them. And then let me go back just a step here. Right in front of Emmy is a touchscreen monitor, and that made a world of difference for our control. And this is something I picked up from Greg Gibson, so shout out to him, who does some great FR7 content as well. But we use that for touchscreen focus, so that allows us to lock in our focus on the presenter and their face or what have you. So the combination of a traditional controller, the Stream Decks, and the touch focus is what really kind of makes this combo special, especially with the full frame PTZ. So I don't think a lot of people are doing that quite yet to have all those levels, but I felt like with that, it's been a great tool set for us.
Awesome.
Now,
Thanks for
are you still using any PTZ cameras that are like Super 16, like 1 inch? Are you still using any of those in your? So you're not, or you're just using your full frames now?
I'm using just full frames. However, I'm considering the AM7, which is also Sony, because of that focal distance thing we talked about. The 70 to 200 with the doubler does work. However, the AM7 is a little bit smaller. It's just you're spending a lot of money for a 1 inch sensor on a
Yeah, it's
PTZ. So
But
is
the
quite
color
expensive.
science, they match perfectly. So that'll get you there, from across the room,
Yeah.
especially in HD. That's a 40x, from
Yeah.
across the way.
sure.
So for
Hey,
12
Noah,
grand,
when
and
you
got
when
that
you do
AI
your
tracking.
when you do your shoot off, Madeline now lives in San Diego, and
Ooh.
a guy occasionally. So if you want to,
I'll be down there in 2 days. So I'm flying, catching a
I'm
flight.
just saying, you could. She'll throw food anywhere you want to have her throw it.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll have to figure something out.
All right, cool. Thanks for sharing, Noah. On that note, let's, Jason, you want to be our reader and give us
Absolutely.
this question coming up?
Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana asks, should IMAG screens always be zoomed in beyond what the audience can see with their own eyes? What else might be shown on only those screens?
Go ahead, Jeff.
It depends on the content of what you're shooting, of course. But for general IMAG purposes, yes, absolutely. It should be a close shot. You should not ever put a wide shot or a medium shot, to me, in my opinion. The whole point of IMAG is image magnification. So to put the same thing they're seeing on the stage, so say, the wide shot, if you put that on the screen, you're not making anything better. You need to be at least uptight so you can see the emotion, so you can see their lips, so you can see everything, as if you were like right in front of them. Yeah, there is definitely a preference mix, but whenever I see IMAG that's done like that with just a wide shot on it, I'm like, unless it's a 200-foot screen, that's a whole nother
Yeah. So
different
do you ever
type of
see
look.
2 different cuts, one for a web stream and one for the in room?
All the time. Should always be, actually. Yeah. So in a web stream, you would pull back and you would have a wide shot because you want something to establish the look. But if it's in-house, you want tight stuff. You want to submix it so that it's as tight as possible.
All right, Carl.
Yeah, and so exactly what Jeff said, you do want to, it's magnification, but also you want to show up. So let's say you're doing a corporate event and they're showing slides, then you're also going to put up the slides. You may do picture in picture with the slide or do a side by side with the IMAG as well, with essentially the person talking to the slide. But yeah, generally slides is another one way that you'd throw off to IMAG. And again, this may not go out to the stream the same way. The stream may actually show a picture in picture of the person talking, where in the room, it may actually just show the slide itself. So yeah, there are 2 different, and in theory, they're usually 2 different people cutting them. And sometimes even maybe 2 different TDs, one for in the room, one for the stream. And the person for the stream may not even be near the room. They may be in a truck down the road. So that's kind of the way it is. But yeah, you do want to actually show to the audience, because someone on a screen, even from a phone up to maybe a television, they're going to have a different experience, and they do want to see the person talking. So you may want to cut in. A good example where this is a little bit different would be like TED. So TED do framing where they'll have the iMac pretty much at floor level, and they'll show the slide behind the person talking. So the person's in theory standing in front of the screen, so you don't need to do a picture in picture, and they're showing what they're talking about on the screen behind them. They'll cut to on the stream they'll cut to, but that's a little bit of a different way that TED does it, because they actually do frame the person and the screen in one shot, so you don't have to do picture in picture. That's another way of doing it.
And Noah.
Yeah, a few times we'll use the wide. So I'll break Jeff's rule a little bit, but I 100% agree with like 95% of your stuff should be closer than what you see. And obviously, if you have 500 people, you have 500 different perspectives, right? And so depending on their distance from the stage, like you're, trying to give them a better view from, sitting at 200 feet away from the stage. Like they want to see the detail of what's happening and what's going on. And I'll describe, there's basically been a reason for our productions to do up to 3 or 4 Emmys, which is like separate cuts, right? And so obviously we have a stream Emmy or, broadcast. The second one would be iMac, right? That could be something that we use. And then the third one could be like a client or a confidence monitor or something that's specific to them. Or if the presenter doesn't want to see themselves, right, in a certain view and they only want to see program or what have you, yes, that could be an aux or an auxiliary send or something like that. But I guess actually a fourth one could be the screen behind them too. Like, so there might be some needs for iMac, right, on that separate Emmy, but not for every single thing. And so if you want to cut that separate than everything else, right? So that's what's interesting about bigger shows is you start to add these extra layers of complexion. For video, they're Emmy layers, right, or Emmys, right? And some Emmys will route into other Emmys. And then for audio, they're called mix buses, or they could be called several other things, but for us, they're called mix buses, right? And so same kind of thing, you can have separate buses or separate master mixes for each purpose.
Nice. And Sky.
Well, again, the screens that I've been using in the back for the corporate experiences, they wanted the event to be live for the audience. And so consequently, it was just a big giant prop back there. And so we never showed we had a picture-in-picture experience, but we always had to have the person standing in front of what they were talking about. And sometimes they would reference it and talk about it and point here. And so that's a corporate experience anyway. And it was in a large theater full of people, but it was being broadcast to, thousands more around the world.
Yeah, the interesting thing to be careful of too is the audience reaction shots, because man, that could really affect a room when you show a close-up of somebody that's pondering something and then they see themselves on the screen and their friends around them start going, "Oh, you're up there."
You talk about the Coldplay concert?
No, not that one.
Yeah, that's an interesting iMac. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. All right, let's go to the next question.
Speaking of Sky, our own Sky Gleason in Seattle, Washington asks, I'm 80% through my 84-minute 4K feature film. I've been using proxies, but it's time to up-res to the original Canon footage. Will a Mini M4 handle it, or do I need to go to the Mini Pro? NLE is Premiere, and I want to put all my 4K into a single external hard drive.
Tell us more, Sky.
Well, I pretty well say that was pretty succinct, but the GramCare film is still moving forward. We're doing our best anyway, and we've got enough. I need to move forward as far as getting it into the 4K footage that we shot it on, and yes, we did shoot it on the Canons, Carl. So the 500, and so that's the footage I've got. I'm wondering, since the new M4s that Guy Cochran keeps saying, "Oh yeah, it'll do everything." It's like, well, will it? And then also I realized there's a Mac M4 Pro. Okay, so you go searching on the interwebs and find out what people are saying about that. And you're right. All of your hard drives, I may be coming and talking to you because I've got that spread out over 5 different spinning drives for backups. and I will need to consolidate it into one nice package. And I know, Guy, you've had a variety of different NAS, and he's pointing over there. He's pointing over his
Yeah,
shoulder.
I got 3G RAIDs over here that are 24 and 32 terabytes. So I mean, those are the monsters to be able to
Well, maybe
consolidate everything.
like Noah, I'll rent them because I don't know as I will ever
Mine
need
are
them
full.
again.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, mine are full. Yeah.
Oh, they're
I mean,
full. Well, okay. Yeah,
I've
because you've
got
had
about
them.
8 terabytes on a couple. Yeah, there's got years of archive storage on them. But
Oh, yeah,
they're-
that's right.
and
You do.
these are so inexpensive now compared to when I got these. These were like $3,000 a whack, and now they're so cheap. You
Well,
get 'em
that's
for-
why I'm at when I started this exercise years ago, everything was more expensive and the hardware was not as fast. And so now I'm to a point where can I cut 84-minute 50 gigs of
we got a
50
guy on the
terabyte.
panel over there that might know a thing or two about some hard drive.
And here we go.
Jason.
Okay. So my issue is that I don't really know anything about Premiere. I've never really used it heavily. I think your best bet is I would actually finish cutting in Proxy. Like I would finish the whole thing in Proxy, and then I would do my switchover. It just like I can't imagine doing it any other way. If you want to speed that up in the interim, get a dedicated super fast scratch disk, and OWC has a whole bunch of those. And it's just going to depend. I can't speak for Premiere, so I can't tell you how big your scratch disk needs to be. My guess is it's going to directly depend upon how many pre-composites and kind of interstitials you're doing.
It's pretty straight cuts. It's all straight cuts. It's not a big fancy compositing system because it's one man's life and he's 91. So we've got a lot of different types of media because we've got some archive footage, we've got some stills, but we did re-film him re-narrating his own story, and we're intercutting that with the Canon stuff. So
so I would truly I would finish the cut. I would do a
well,
director's cut.
That's my challenge. I'm to a point. I traditionally absolutely agree with you. I've worked in Burbank as a online finisher, so I know the right way to do it, and here we are.
Okay, so there are a lot of drives that can do this. The real question, I guess, is how have you found that it's really, really slowing down, or are you simply being slowed down because you have to go hunt for files at this point?
I'm on a 2019 MacBook Pro with all the ProRes. I mean, with the
Oh,
ProRes
you don't
proxies.
have a mini yet. Okay. So no, I don't think you need a
And
mini
Black
Pro.
Friday is a coming, and
I don't think you need a mini Pro for this project. I don't know. I leave it to the panel as to whether or not, because again, I can't speak to Premiere. I don't know how resource heavy it is compared to Final Cut. I don't know how well
It's such
Adobe
an
has.
animal. I mean, it depends on the codec. It depends on
Well, yeah,
how
and
much
that's the other
grading
thing.
you've done.
When it comes to the codec,
there's so much.
I would completely I would use Edit Ready. I would standardize the codec. I would completely just don't deal at all with anything other than your codec of choice, whether that be ProRes or something.
Well,
along
this is
those lines.
hopefully to do an online. Yes, you would take it to the raw, then you would take it into whatever your coloring DaVinci or whatever coloring system of choice. And so, yes, I'm trying to get ahead of that because it's eventually going to have to be done anyway. And since my editing is glacial at best, I'm trying to make progress. So I absolutely agree with you.
And Carl wanted to put in 2 cents on it too.
Oh,
so
he's
good
got at
job,
least
Richard.
12 cents, and they're Canadian or they're
They're Australian. Go ahead, Carl.
So the thing is, if you're doing proxies, and as you say, that's the way you do it, and then you've got, I'm guessing these are ProRes. I'm guessing that's what the non-proxies are. Are they ProRes or what are they recorded in?
No, it was shot on Canon, and so I think there's some Canon proprietary.
Canon RAW? Well, there's Canon RAW, there's their compress, which is H.264, H.265, which they call AVC. but it depends what it is. But it's essentially, I would continue with the proxies if you're not doing, as I said, any crazy compositing. Just let the render engine do it. So the thing that you're on an Intel machine, the difference is going to be pretty much to an M4, just an M4 basic. It's going to be like an order of magnitude, it'll be 10 times faster. So an M1 was like 3 times faster than like an i7 back in the day. And so, yeah, we're talking pretty much going to be 10 times faster as far as doing that final render. And because Adobe products are now native to Apple Silicon.
There
so,
we go.
Yes.
That's what I
Yeah.
was needing.
Yeah, so it was only way back in the first 6 months. Like it took them about 9 months, I believe, for Adobe to roll over to be native, where they had to go through Rosetta 2. But that was only 9 months of the M1 being available and Rosetta 2 being used for Adobe products. But we are well past that now, and of course, Adobe has upgraded their products multiple times since they've gone native to Apple Silicon. So I would say if you're in, I would say just a Costco a $499 Costco M4 Mac Mini is definitely good, and you will notice it because, like, I myself have a 6-core i7, so 2019 as well. So I understand like the top of the Intel range, and I understand the difference between that and just a base version of an M processor.
Yeah, I didn't
It's
realize
like-
you were using an Intel Mac. The difference is going to be night and day. It is
it's order of magnitude.
staggering at any speed with any codec. Full
Well,
stop.
I've not driven the 4K footage with anything yet because it's all sitting on these spinning backup drives. I've only
Okay,
been, so
so
spinning on a proxy, yeah, whatever.
Here
But-
are the steps that I would do then, because again, it is going to be shockingly faster.
Go buy Cochran's
and-
RAID.
you really don't need a RAID for this. You need a scratch disk and you need a primary disk. And, I think you could get away with, OWC's Envoy Ultra is by far the least expensive and actually does perform at about 6,000 megabytes per second. 2 terabytes for $379, 4 terabytes for $5. God, it's so inexpensive.
And you can daisy chain these?
For $499, you could daisy chain it in a dock. These don't actually have an input and an output. You'd have to go to a bigger drive for that. But in this case, at that price, it doesn't really matter. The other
I'm
thing
going to
is
need
you're going
more
to
than
have
4
Thunderbolt.
terabytes. I'm going to need more than 4.
You're going to need more than 4 terabytes, but not for scratch disk. And honestly, not for a main disk until you are completely off of your mezzanine codec, right? So again, you will make so much progress simply by switching to M4 Silicon with Thunderbolt 5 that I would just start and truly and be shocked by how much faster it is once you've consolidated just your mezzanine codecs with a dedicated scratch disk on the least expensive Thunderbolt 5 portable SSD that
Well,
OWC
again,
has.
I come from Avid where everything had to be flattened before you could touch, before you moved into it. So that's the
Well, there you go.
historical way. But that's just more management, yet more files that I now have to transcode. And so that's where I haven't gone to the upres of this experience yet.
No, I
so-
totally understand. So again, like I would
Thank you,
I would
Doctor.
make the first move the consolidation and to the Mac Mini. And then from
Okay.
there, buy your dedicated scratch disk and your a big enough SSD to support your entire thing. The speed of which is just
Big enough-
determined by your
the
budget.
scratch. Okay, right.
So
The
it's
scratch
my-
disk is going to be a huge
Noah,
difference.
to jump in on this one. Let's let Noah take his.
Yeah, go ahead, Noah.
hand.
All good. No worries there. Sky, you're going to have a night and day difference. I'm going to repeat most of what Jason just said, but like you can literally do this on an M1. Like if you do a solid state disk, M.2 SSD, something, getting off of the spinning disks, moving to a modern processor, go ahead and put that paper right in the trash can. Get on a modern computer.
I'm
This is super
talking
simple.
to it with you. I'm on it now. It's been
It
a
needs to
good
die.
Build a shrine
Take
for
it
it, but
outside.
quit editing on it, okay?
smoke.
Sorry. Yeah, I think you know what to do. I mean, honestly, the hard drive's a huge thing. The processor, literally an M1 could do it. It's you're asking is 15x or 20x better? Yes, 20x is technically better, but you can do it because you have so many other variables that are going to make such a huge difference.
I'm sorry. Now I'm starting to understand the scratch disk. Yes, Premiere just automatically changed me over to the 25.5 version, and it's got all kinds of new toys in it that I don't need right now. But I can run Chrome now since I've updated to Sonoma or something. Or
Well,
Sequoia.
if you wanted to daisy chain, just so you know, I mean, you could spend an outrageous amount of money and get a Thunderblade, but that's not necessary. Like, truly, that is not necessary. The difference here is going to be night and day, no matter what you do. Once you are off of the spinning discs and off of Intel, you will be making progress, and you're going to be shocked at how much
There's
faster
what I
it
want.
is.
I want progress, and I've got 5 spinning discs that I have to consolidate.
Just consolidate down. Use something like Edit Ready to standardize your codec. Get off the mezzanine codec, but don't do that until everything's all on OneDrive.
Oh, say that
Cool.
again. What?
There's no need to get off of the mezzanine codec. Your proxies. Before you make this Alpha Silicon / SSD switch, because doing it any other way is just going to cost you so much time. You don't want to use something like Edit Ready to standardize to a large format codec on a spinning drive, because that's going to take 20 times longer.
Right. Okay. Well, you and I may be chatting
Sure.
tomorrow, so I don't want to beat this horse too much harder.
I think that was great. I mean,
Oh,
when
yeah.
I got my M1, I thought it was fast. And then when I got that M4, I was like, holy cow. And then
You teased
right
me.
now,
You did.
I'll tease you some more, because I have a Puget Systems machine with 32 cores that costs $17,000. It's running Premiere right now in front of me, and it is crazy fast. So I thought the M4 was fast, but
Just
with
drive
a
to
5080,
Guys, and you can, if you need a demo before you
this
shell
one's
out
at
your
a
hard-earned
Seattle
money.
studio, but
I know
I'm controlling
my
it.
car goes there automatically. I just let go and it goes home. Yes. I put
Right on.
a couple
All
of his
right.
kids through college.
Thanks. We appreciate
welcome.
it. We got another question coming up from
We do. Peter Belbin in Houston, Texas asks, would it be financially viable to become an FR7 rental house? I feel an It Depends coming on.
Probably not. Guy could probably talk to this too, but
Oh man, I think Alex said it best on this one, because of the gears and the motors and everything on this. I don't think I'd really want to rent that one out without my people, And so certain people do that. I noticed. So there's a company that I do a lot of work with called Able Cine, and Able Cine was just a rental house, but during the pandemic, they started saying, "Hey, you want to rent this certain camera, this certain switcher, this certain rack of AJA key pros? It's going to come with our operator, because there's just so much to it. And with these cameras, I don't know, man, that's a tough one. I don't know if I would rent it out. You got to keep those things busy, and if they go down and you have to send them in for repair, I can imagine how much that's going to cost.
yeah, I think I pissed off one of my friends who is a producer because I told him I'm not sending it out without one of my techs, and he didn't hire me
It
for
should
that
be
project. So, but whatever.
It
I mean, same thing. Yeah,
It
it's
should
just
be understandable.
yeah, it's a lot. It's $45,000+ worth of investment that I don't want to put at risk. And yes, there's insurance and other stuff, but like I won't know if it's a little bump or a little thing like until later on.
It's going to be like the rocket launch. They're just going to do a rocket launch with them.
Yeah. Come back in charred pieces. That'd be great.
How many months did it take to clean out your trailer from all the dust?
Oh my gosh.
You're still finding dust. That
Yeah,
was like
probably.
3 years ago.
Yeah. Power washer wasn't enough. Yeah.
All right, Jeff, you want to dive in?
I'm going to be the other side. I will rent or sell anything that I have for the right number. It doesn't matter. It's just gear. So yes, I would absolutely rent them. Would I want to invest in them? Would I get the return off of them? I don't feel like that's the case, because there's not a high enough demand for them. They're very niche, and there's a lot of people like Noah and Greg that are doing well with them. But as Noah also said, the Panasonic UE150s, I can advertise mine better for sure, because I know they'll rent left and right. Everybody uses them. And it was the first high quality PTZ that hit the market. So that's one of the reasons why everybody knows it. And if you know it, you know how to get into it, you know how to tweak it, you know how to get into the finite settings that are in there. It's part of it. And so it's what's
Scope
familiar.
C.
Yeah. So I would definitely rent them. But
for
I'm
those
not
that
gonna
don't know what that
invest in them.
means, Scope C is the little preset that you go in to make it so that it doesn't adjust exposure. If you leave it on Scope A, when you hit your preset, it's going to adjust your white balance and your exposure. Or if you have it on Scope C, it locks it in. So that's one of the bummers about the less expensive PTZ cameras that other people use. They're like, how come it adjusts the exposure every time? It's like, that's just the way that camera is. But UE150 and some of the higher end cameras, you can go in there and dig in. And they did come out with a firmware in the last couple of weeks. Jeff, I don't know if you saw it, but there's some new face auto focus that just came out, and some other things about moving around in a 4K frame.
Yeah,
So you could,
EPTZ. Yeah,
yeah. So
that
that's
is. I've never really found. There's a lot of things that are just marketing spin on that, and I've never really found myself in a. I'm never going to use that. I would hardly ever use a EPTZ type. It's just not enough. You're taking a 4K and you can only zoom in like maybe 4x, so it's not enough movement to me to make it worthwhile to be able to. The dream was right. It was shoot a stage with a 4K camera, and then you've got multiple little small windows and pips that you can move around. That doesn't work out in the real
it's
world.
not reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was some other limitation. I can't remember what it was, but you lose something when you go into that mode. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was like some zooming or something that you lose. And I was like,
But
okay,
it
well,
wasn't
that's
as
not gonna-
bad as a Sony where you lose recording if you're doing one mode. What was it that
Oh,
came up on
that's
the
awful.
FR7s? Like
Oh,
you couldn't record and do SRT at the same time. Is that what it is, Noah?
I don't know for the processing, like the live streaming within the camera. Is that what you're talking about?
It was something like that. Like you couldn't record on the chip or the SD cards locally and do something else. And it was a pretty major something. Maybe it's Clear Zoom or something that was part of
Oh,
it.
yeah. So the older firmware had presets with Clear Zoom, like basically when you had Clear Zoom on, which allowed you to basically do Super 35 mode on the full frame, so you crop in a little bit. It didn't allow you to do presets basically, but I think that's resolved with version 3. Yeah, kind of
Nice.
interesting. I was also going to
Alright.
say, sorry, between the UE150s and the FR7s, I will say I've seen, because we've done larger concerts like Elton John and BET, and the 1-inch sensor is a lot worse for subwoofer shake, right? So the low frequency vibrations, because of the physics, right? A larger sensor, you're going from 1 inch to a full frame, it's roughly 4 times larger of a sensor. So you get a lot less shake on a full frame compared to the 1 inch. And it gets even more amplified for those cheaper 2/3 inch or 1.8 over whatever sensors, those even smaller ones. The shake just is going to increase the smaller the sensor gets, basically.
That's one of the interesting things about the Canon line, the CRN 500 and 700. They actually have some stabilization in those models versus
That's
the
right. They have
Panasonics.
optical stabilization and digital stabilization. They can work together. Yeah, you're right.
It's crazy. All right, we're gonna jump over to some content picks. I didn't get the word out to everybody that they'd need one, so we might run a little short on those, which is okay. If you don't have one, you feel free not to have to go digging into your archives. But we've got Jason Beisch coming up with one. What do you got, Jason?
okay. So I'm going to preface what I'm saying by saying if you like really long sci-fi, like just kind of space epics that don't rhyme with ors, this is going to be great. I watched over the weekend the director's cut of Rebel Moon, and I thought it was pretty good. Now, here's the thing about it. Never before have I been more upset by knowing, just straight up knowing, that the HDR was destroyed. Like all the effects shots were absolutely ruined by Netflix kind of lack of good HDR. But if I find myself with another 6 hours to watch Rebel Moon 1 and 2 again, I would be willing to do it, and I would love to do it without the Netflix compression, because I think it would be really, really great. I want to get my hands on a Blu-ray copy of this because I think that this kind of long form stuff is pretty great.
Jeff Keithley.
I agree with you. That is one of my favorite ones too.
Oh,
That
wow.
and Expanse. But for my recommendation, because I'm a Texan, Landman. right now. They just started the next
Season
season.
2.
Yeah. Yeah, I just it's such a great, and they did another one of his, I guess you would call it just a rant of sorts right at the beginning of the show, and I'm like, yep, we're back. And he's just gonna dig up everything and just turn it over and let everybody just kind of, I don't know, if
Well,
you're on,
a quick note on the director's cut, by the way, that there's some serious violence and a fair bit of sex, so don't bring your kids.
Good to know.
Inland Man also, yes.
Yeah. You got one, Carl?
Yeah, I do. So it's called Asian Nometry. So this is a YouTube channel. So essentially, they focus on essentially business technology, technology history, and some economics about technology. But generally, they're technology focused. So you can see in the some of the thumbnails here, like the original Apple Silicon, the G5, which was Apple pushing IBM to make a chip for them. So it was really they were the only customer for the G5. It did go into a supercomputer for Virginia Tech, of course. But so they go into these kind of subjects. There's quite a range of subjects, so we like quite a wide range. But they're all kind of essay based. Kind of good. The length is pretty good too, so they don't go too deep. So they're not like 90 minutes, but they're not like 5 minutes. So they do go into a bit of the history. But yeah, so a lot of different subjects, a lot around technology and the economics of technology and changing technology. So really cool that this kind of channel exists. And that these kind of stories are being told, because a lot of these stories are fringe stories that you would have found in a trade magazine back in the 90s, but that's where they would live now. They wouldn't live anywhere else. So the person who makes this channel, they're actually going back to these kind of old stories and telling these old technology stories, and economic stories evolved around technology, which we are going to see here, economics changing with technology right now, obviously with AI, assisting some people in their jobs and forcing other people to change the direction of their jobs.
Nice. Sky Gleason, what do you got?
I just watched Good Fortune. Keanu Reeves is the angel that is trying to do his best and doesn't. And it's hilarious. But what I found out as I go to didn't go to IMDb, I went to the Wikipedia. And Aziz Ansari, this is his debut. He wrote it, he directed it, he was a part of the production of it.
That's in my list. I can't wait to watch that.
It is, well, as somebody who has lived and worked in that industry and in that community, it's actually kind of painful, because it's like, oh, it's too real. And it's not fun anymore when it's that real. But that's when Seth Rogen comes in and does the
Seth Rogen thing.
Oh, he does the Seth Rogen thing so well. And it is a good ending, but it takes you on a human journey.
Don't.
Human journey.
All right.
It's worth a ride.
Well,
it's online.
Mine's a little different. So I love entertainment. I love movies and film, but I'm kind of hooked on the self-development and the business-minded content stuff. And so I'm going to make a recommendation. If you haven't heard of this guy named Alex Hormozi, he runs a website called acquisition.com. And so he's basically a business coach, and he has a few free classes. So acquisition.com/training. There's 3, I believe, classes on here that are all about an hour long. There's a book and a workbook. And this for me has really changed a lot of my business and my mindset around business. So if you have any inclination towards wanting to learn business, like you speak tech natively, but like business is not your first language, Alex does a really good job of breaking it down to like a 6th grade reading level, making concepts really simple and easy for us to follow, and can really round you out business-wise. So like if you speak tech and know tech, but business is your weakness like me, that's definitely something I would recommend.
Nice. I've read a couple of his books. He's great. Jason Bache.
Yeah, just a comment on that. As someone who took the time to get a business degree, he does a really good job. Like, there is nothing you learn in business school that you can't learn in a fraction of the time on YouTube. You just have to ask the right questions.
Yeah, Alex Hormozi coming from those gym launches, and now he's just killing it. I can't believe he just got a Guinness Book of World Records for, what was it, most books sold in a something, or what was the
Yeah.
record for?
I think it was like 48-hour period. He sold $105 million worth of books.
Good Lord.
Yeah,
Bananas.
maybe it was
live.
72 hours, but still, yeah. Like he basically.
Were you on that event, Jeff? Or you can't say. He wasn't, but you work in that arena behind the scenes.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're all the same Kool-Aid drinkers.
All right. I got one content pick. It's another one of those guys that is great for the self-development. I know Alex has mentioned this guy a couple times. Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett. He got interviewed on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and he talks about how he always prepares for his guests and he knows everything about them and he's always ready. But this one guest came in and he wasn't as prepared, but it wound up being one of the best interviews ever because he really had to listen and let the person talk and not just be queued up with questions that were in a line, because a lot of people do that when they interview somebody. They just want to get through all these pre-made questions, but they're not truly listening. And then sometimes the guest feels it, they're like, I just told you something, really good, and we could have went down that path, but instead you just went on your directive. And so it's a one of those videos that really hit home for me because I mean, even in this show here, I let people talk. It's just one of those things where you just got to know when to pull, and it's something you learn. But it was nice to see that video. Noah, you had something to follow up with?
Yeah, so Jimmy obviously had Stephen on the Tonight Show, but Jimmy also went on Stephen's show. So if you go to Diary of a CEO, you can watch the full, I think, 2.5-hour episode. Jimmy Fallon gives some great insight and history on him too, and I thought both videos were excellent.
Awesome. All right. On that note, I wanted to thank our crew. We've got Taylor behind the scenes. We got Alan, Peter, Robert, and I thought we had one more. I thought we had big Z Zach Jeffers.
Yeah, Zach was back there somewhere.
Somewhere back there. All right, I'm going to thank him anyway. Thanks for coming on. And I want to thank everybody for all the questions and for viewing. And if you have any more questions, you could ask them on tomorrow's morning show. We have that one 7 days a week, and you can watch it at officehours.global and ask your questions there. And thanks again for our panel and the back end crew. All right, have a good night or tomorrow or whatever it is in your neck of the woods. See ya.